Als de engelen daarboven piano spelen, dan spelen ze zoals Askenazy. En als God de schepping had gedirigeerd zoals Askenazy het doet, dan had de zaak er een stuk minder beroerd voorgestaan. Vreemd idee, om hem juist hier te ontmoeten. In het gebouw van de zender Freies Berlin. In de grote repetitiezaal van de Deutsche Symphoniker. Toen hij in Rusland onder Stalin leefde, moet hij nu en dan hebben geluisterd naar deze zender Freies Berlin. Stemmen, flarde muziek uit het westen. Zal het daarover gaan zometeen? Nee, maar op een indirecte manier weer wel. De afgelopen maanden hebben we elkaar regelmatig ontmoet, gebeld en geschreven. Ten slotte faxt hij, 4 dagen voor onze ontmoeting, dat hij eindelijk 3 voorbeelden heeft gevonden van schoonheid en troost. Als eerste een fragment uit de Bels van Rachmaninov, waarvoor hij er in allerijl een sopraan organiseert die 30 seconden moet zingen. We zullen in de grote repetitiezaal regelmatig worden gestoord door een boor verderop. Askenazy zal er amper op letten. Zo min als op de regen die op het glazen dakraam klettert. Rachmaninov, Schumann, Beethoven. Daarover zal het gaan. We kunnen nog niet weten dat we bij een heel andere componist zullen terechtkomen en bij een geheel onverwachte conclusie.
I needed you. I needed for this. That's why I needed it. I could have played all that, but I can't hold this note.
No.
It's impossible. It disappears. So I had to have a singer to hold the note. Now you know why you're here.
Yes. But maybe I can come in there.
No, you sing everything. You sing so beautifully. It's great.
Do you know what the program is about, the series is about?
Well, yes.
I explained.
Yeah?
A little bit.
A little bit.
What did he tell you?
He told something about love and what was
Consolation.
Consolation, yeah.
Yeah, even beauty and consolation.
Beauty and
Love can be
consolation.
part of it.
Okay.
That's
That's what we're
do
going
those
to
words
do
have
here.
any meaning to you? If I say beauty and consolation, the two together, what's the first thing that's coming to your mind?
This?
The bells?
Yes.
Beauty we have already.
It's there.
Yes.
But she has to leave within half an hour. We'll talk about beauty and consolation.
We'll talk about it later. We first do this. Finish with the music.
Can you tell me why did you choose the bells or this particular?
Well, I can explain to you why. Well, I have to talk a long time then, because I have to tell you that I decided that the most important element in our conversation, at least my concept of what we're talking about, is basically love. Because I think love, in whatever form it is, love of mother to the child, or love between people who are making a family and get married, or Christian love, or brotherly love, sisterly love, this is something that actually holds us together, that makes us comfortable, and it's totally, maybe the most essential element in our existence is presence of love. Otherwise it's very difficult to exist if nobody loves you, nobody cares for you. Now, love means care, consolation, compassion, consideration. That's where consolation comes in my mind, as integral part of love in our existence. That's why one of the elements of this, that's why I chose this particular passage from Rachmaninoff's Bells, because this movement is about the wedding bells. And
it's the second part. We have
it's the second
marriage.
part. First is birth, second is wedding bells. They're very gentle, and the lyrics that are taken from a Russian poet Balmont, the lyrics are that there's a very twilight amber sound of the bells, if you can imagine that, and that they promise something to you, and it's rhyming and chiming of the bells. They promise something, and I hear also premonition in this music. It's not only promise, because there's a promise of something blissful, and at the same time there is a fear of unknown, because marriage and the future of the marriage is something that you don't know what it will be like. It's bliss and unknown, bliss and premonition, and because of that there's also consolation, because premonition and fear are not exactly positive concepts, and therefore I find consolation in it. It's a promise of bliss and consolation for any fear that anything that tragic that might and will happen, because without tragedy we don't exist either. So for me it's all encompassed in this passage. Well, we'll try. Shall we try then? I don't know, we'll rehearse first or whatever?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
To just try, okay.
So on, and then it goes to the end from here.
What exactly are the words?
The words.
Do you have them in Russian?
I'll say it in Russian, yes.
Yeah.
И роняют светлый взгляд на грядущее, где дремлет безмятежность нежных снов, возвещаемых согласием золотых колоколов. In English it would be the bells are throwing light amber look on the future, where there are blissful dreams you are dozing in blissful dreams. That's about the marriage and the bliss of the future. And they foretell to us this blissful future by the agreement of the bells, the agreeing chiming of the bells. And that's a better translation than what I see here. But here it needs to be sung, of course. So you have to find it for the notes. But my translation is literal and more focused. So it's a wonderful verse, of course. So it gives you the blissful future feeling. Fantastic poetry, and the music is too. I mean, it's quite a passage. I'm pouring like crazy now. It's impossible. My eyes, my nose, everything. Maybe it's good for this passage you can cry too.
Yeah.
There he was. We talked about beauty and wedding.
Yeah.
About his beloved one, and see, the Maestro is crying already.
Yes, I'm crying already. Beautiful singing. She's fantastic. To the end of this movement, fantastic, and this something incredible, and the secret. I can't imagine more eloquent description of bliss and premonition and promise, and I don't know. Don't you think?
It's wonderful.
Does that disturb you?
No.
Did it interfere with the
No,
take?
you don't hear it when the music
Good.
is playing music, so we don't
Okay.
get it.
Good. Bravo.
Thank you.
Is that okay?
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
So you have it.
Yeah.
My second was maybe better even, huh?
Yeah, but there was something in the language, I think. But
I wasn't listening to the language. I was listening to the music. And that is what's most important.
yes. Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Thank you very much.
Oh, that's nice.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wonderful. 3 times.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember
Okay.
that.
Yep.
Holland.
Okay.
I can't give you a kiss because of my cold, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Wonderful. I look
a
forward to seeing
pleasure.
you soon.
See you soon. Where's
Great.
Michael? Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm so grateful.
Me
for this
too.
Great piece.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you for the roses.
Is that locked? Maybe that's locked, no?
Huh?
It's not locked?
No, it's not locked.
Okay. And then you go to the right.
I think it's alright.
Okay. Bye. Bye-bye. The other thing I have is from Dichterliebe, Schumann. I mean, Dichterliebe is Liebe already. Huh? And the poem is Heine, of course. Yeah. Ich will meine Seele tauchen in den Kelch der Lilie hinein. Die Lilie soll klingen, hauchen, ein Lied von der Liebsten mein. Das Lied soll schauern und beben wie der Kuss von ihrem Mund, den sie mir einst gegeben in wunderbar süßer Stund. Great, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, the poem itself is beyond, and the music, of course. I can't sing, of course, but I'll try a couple of times, okay?
Okay.
It's rather difficult with the tenor's part, so I have to drop some of the piano voices, but it doesn't matter because...
Okay.
This piece touches me so much I can't really describe it. But the whole cycle is unbelievably beautiful. But this is just in a nutshell, it's everything. And it's such a beautiful piece, of course. And the lyrics with this combination is beyond description. Again, certainly there's consolation here, because unrequited love is something it's very difficult to cope with. Mm-hmm. And one feels that there is something like this here, because it's not a happy song. I put into it something that it is unrequited love for me, and it's very, very sad, very difficult to take. And the protagonist, so to speak, is saying that the kiss cannot be forgotten, it's forever, it's eternal, and the feeling of love is eternal. And of course there is consolation here. It's not self-pity, I don't think so. But the beauty of the kiss, the beauty of the love, helps to console the protagonist, this particular poet. I don't know, maybe I'm talking rubbish, but I feel consolation here and beauty together, of course, no question. And it consoles us. It does console me, for sure. I feel on another level when I'm part of it.
Just those 53 seconds, not more
yes.
than 53.
Well, that's sometimes it's enough.
Yeah.
And it feels like eternity. The other day, yesterday, actually, you don't need to record it, but you use what you want. Sibelius 4, which is an extraordinary piece of music. It's only 32, 33 minutes. My wife, who knows it backwards too, she's a Scandinav, she's a musician too, she had the score with her. The score is very thin. And she said, the score is thin, the symphony is short. Symphonies go about 40 minutes, 45 minutes. This is 32, 33. She said, it's unbelievable. To me, it sounds like it is so, maybe an hour or two, because there's so much in it. It's so often, with me it happened too, especially when I heard lots of pieces for the first time in my childhood. Some Mozart, Beethoven, other great composers. To me, some phrases sounded like they go on 4 minutes, and in fact it was 20 seconds. Because there was so much in it, I thought it was eternal. In time element, it was eternal. But it wasn't. It was eternal in the message. And for me, it was not 20 seconds, it was a few minutes. Well, it's very interesting.
And when you're conducting the Fourth yesterday evening, do you yourself have the sense that time is well, screwed out, a kind of endless time instead of 20 minutes.
Of course, the time is, you don't think about it anymore. It's eternity. It's endless, absolutely.
What do you feel conducting? Can you describe it?
No, no, you see, if you ask a professional musician what happens during a performance or rehearsal, I'm afraid the answers will be very often terribly mundane and trivial and banal.
Yeah.
Because the process, you have to think of so many, in a way, trivial things. Like you have to make sure that he sees you, they are together, this is this and this and this. And yet, at the same time, of course, you have the spiritual drive that goes through. Of course, without that you shouldn't even be there.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, everything else comes into it. All the trivial, banal, stupid things. I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do it, and all that all together with the most important element, which is making music and sending the message. So it's difficult to describe it.
The third piece you were talking about is Beethoven.
Yes, I was having doubts about it because it's very beautiful, but maybe it's on another dimension. Maybe it's not consolation. That's what I'm a bit afraid. Maybe it's I was thinking about it. It's already, I don't know if it's consolation. I think it's more than that. It's sort of it's a comment on human destiny, I think, more than just consolation. So maybe it's even a few notches higher than consolation.
What's the comment on human destiny? What do you mean?
Well, unfortunately, human destiny is not always full of love. You see, and poor Beethoven didn't have much of that. And it was very difficult for him.
Yeah.
He felt very lonely most of his life. And of course something like this comes from well, I played for you. The great thing with Beethoven, he had an incredible spirit, and then a few comes ratio comes mind helps, and then this is the contrast and in a way an antidote to what happened before. And then of course the sonata ends with triumph of the spirit. But this passage,
What's called the laute Klagen?
Klagende Gesang.
It's Klagende Gesang.
Yeah. This is, I mean, It's beyond description again, and incomparable in its eloquence and its simplicity and economy of message. Everything is there. The whole world, the whole life is there. Of course, it's beautiful in a way, but the beauty, to say it's beautiful, is not enough.
No, at the same time you see poor old Beethoven.
Oh yes.
His life.
Oh yes.
His loneliness.
Yes, but there's no self-pity, not in this. You can find self-pity in Mahler, you can find self-pity in Tchaikovsky, in some other expressions, not in this. I don't find any of self-pity. I think it's mankind, it's humanity.
Yeah.
And if he laments about all our common destiny, but not about himself. He was above that, I think. I'm convinced of that. So if there is an element of consolation, it's an element of consolation for all of us. That I know what we're like, I know what life holds for us, I know where it goes, and I console you for that, as well as myself, but myself's not so important. I'm only one. Anyway.
I know what life is all about. What is life all about? What do you think Beethoven thought?
Who knows? It's a knowledge that you can't put into words. We don't know the meaning of our existence. One great man said the meaning of our existence is to work on one's character and improve it. Yeah.
Could be.
It could be. It's important.
Yeah, the fact that we ourselves can give meaning to life. That we have to give meaning to life because there's no moral God or whatever to instruct us. Isn't that one of the sources?
Well, it's some people, some people who are deeply religious, they believe there is an entity that guides them, but then they should do the way the entity guides them. But you see so many pretending doing that and not doing it.
Yeah.
They come to the church and pray, come out of the church and do the same as they always did before. Remember St. Antonius, what is the word? What's the word for the gospel? No, not gospel. When you preach, what is it called? The piece of your preaching. What is the word?
Yeah, good question.
In church.
Our English.
Pray.
No, you pray. No. When the priest gives you his
salvation or
no. Salvation is a right. No, when he makes his speech in the church in the mass, what's it called? Just it'll come. Sermon. Yes? Sermon. And when St. Antonius gave his sermon, there is another word still, but sermon will do. Remember, to the fish. All the fish swam to St. Antonius and said, we never heard such a wonderful speech, because he preached brotherhood, he preached non-aggressiveness, he preached love and everything. And even the pikes who were predators, even the carps who were gluttons, they all responded to the sermon, and they thought, oh, how wonderful it is, and we really shouldn't be this, we shouldn't be that. When the sermon was finished, they went back to their river and lake, and pike started eating other fish, and carp started being just as gluttons as before, and nothing worked. And that's what happens most of the time, and it's very sad. Mother Teresa's are very few and far between, and that's very sad. So it's not bad to work on one's character. I try to do it all the time.
But if I say there's a God at the beginning of the universe, it's a moral God. There's this religious entity. Do you believe in it or not? Do you say, well, we have to invent the values ourselves. We are responsible for ourselves. That's the whole story.
I think there is a Russian proverb, "Na Boga nadejся, sam nie plashaj," which means you hope for somebody there, but don't do badly yourself. It's a very good proverb. I prefer to have a scale of values and stick to it.
Yeah.
I don't know. We don't know what is there. even the greatest scientists don't know. Even the people who are deeply religious will not give you an answer. Recently I was listening to a conversation between a very wonderful person who is a famous preacher. I don't want to give you the name. And somebody asked him, do you believe in the validity of prayer? He said, well, you don't know the ways of God. I know of a case where a friend of mine was praying God that he would catch a certain flight. He prayed and prayed and prayed. The flight was full. He never got a seat on that flight. But that plane crashed and everyone died on that flight. Well, you see, you don't know the ways of God. And the other person said, what about God's attitude to those who died on that crash? He said, I have no answer to that. So, we don't know.
No. If I say hereafter, the heavens, you don't have to talk about it either.
I don't want to. I don't know.
Isn't that a ridiculous idea, to be immortal, to live eternally?
Would be interesting though. I would like to see what happens to mankind, how stupid they can be, you know. We already know how stupid mankind has been, but it would be interesting to see if there's any chance of their improvement in the future. I rather have a feeling that there isn't much chance. But who knows, I may be wrong. That's why I'm so curious. It would be very interesting to see.
Your father played the piano.
Yes?
And do we have to change the tapes? Or?
Yeah. I also go and blow my nose.
Okay. You want to have lunch in between, or?
Yes, if you. Why not? It is so vague, this subject. It's so difficult to put it together in my mind. Remember what my responses to you, and I said, how can I do it? What can I say? I thought and thought and thought and thought about it, and I thought that's the only way I can be really true to myself, to say about love and consolation as integral part of life. That's what I believe in this program, in this concept. So please use that.
Yeah.
And the rest, of course, whatever you want.
Yeah. You played Beethoven, Schumann, and Rachmaninoff. Aren't there other examples? But if you talk about, for instance, the heavens, what would the angels have to sing for us to be eternally blessed?
But it doesn't fall into my concept.
No.
You see?
Yeah.
I explained to you what I think about my contribution and the way I understand the relationship between consolation, beauty and love. And heaven doesn't fall into it.
No. It's non-existent.
Yeah. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. It's malt beer or? It's malt beer. Without
Malt.
alcohol.
No.
No alcohol.
No alcohol, no. No alcohol. It's just malt. Wasser, malt, Zucker. Non-alcoholic. It's energy. Energy.
No, it's a difficult subject, right?
Of course.
Yes. Well, come on.
No, I'm cold and I'm sticky with the food.
Okay, before you play again, perhaps. We'll see.
I don't know if I'll play again. Who knows?
Who knows?
But you have 3 examples. That's a lot. That's a lot. I don't give it to anybody except you. I like to, because I think the subject is so important, so touching, so essential. I thought I really take it seriously, you know. That's why I prepared these 3 examples. Exactly what I wanted to say. The third I wasn't quite sure, but
Yeah.
maybe you can use it.
Your father played the piano. For what reason? What kind of a man was it? What did he do for a living?
He was a pianist. That was his profession. He was in the light music area, accompanist for, popular songs, sometimes even some pantomimes, sometimes some ballet, acrobats, anything that goes in a variety show. He was quite incredible in that. He was sought after so much. He was kind of the most sought after accompanist for that type. So he had plenty of work, too much work in fact. He also composed, not much, very simple things, but he composed some songs he composed.
You can still remember them?
No, I don't remember. He very often asked me for help to harmonize some songs, because his education wasn't so complete, and he quickly moved to the light music. And as you know, in light music, musical education is very perfunctory, and that's an understatement. I mean, look at this. I mean, these songs, rocks and pop songs. I mean, it's such primitivism that it's frightening, actually. My father was more sophisticated than that, and he was still terribly light. And he didn't have very good education. He didn't know some harmonical things, and I helped him very often. He said, "How do I do this?" I said, "Well, this would be the best, it would be the best." And he would look at Tchaikovsky songs, Rachmaninoff songs, what they would use, and he would get by that way. So in that sense, it was interesting.
Do you remember yourself being a kid, a boy, helping your father? What kind of atmosphere was it?
We had 2 rooms at that point, a piano in each room, because he needed his piano, I needed mine. There was nothing else. There's 2 rooms where you could hardly move. It was so small. They were so small. Until he would be writing something, and just go to my room and say, "Come, could you please help me? I don't know what harmony to use here. I do something like, I don't know. I do something." And says, "You can't do. No, not here. You can't do it. You do something. Something, I don't know. I can't remember now." He said, "Oh yes, it's much better." I said, "But look at Tchaikovsky or something. You'll find something much better than I say." And things like that. Sometimes he was resentful that I knew more, because I had a proper musical education. Because mostly he asked me for advice. We were quite good friends.
What kind of music did he play? Do you remember the style of his playing?
He played.
The way he moved his hands, his fingers.
He improvised a lot, but there were all sort of kind of songs that I couldn't know. If you had asked me, I have some music of those songs. I could have brought and played them for you, but unfortunately,
you don't know the half.
I can't remember. They were all similar to each other.
That's right.
I don't really try. No.
You're your father now for a little moment.
No, impossible.
Try to imitate a little bit.
No, that I couldn't know. He had his own style, and those kind of Russian songs that he played, there were sometimes Tsigan, gypsy songs, sometimes Jewish songs, some Russian songs, Ukrainian songs, I don't know. All sort of very simple lyrical songs. But the music, I can't remember. They all seem to me the same, more or less, those songs.
Did you love him?
Well, yes, I remember I was very fond of his presence.
But did you love him? Or was it just the fact that he was coming back time and again, but leaving at the same moment? I mean, did you miss
I don't know how to describe that feeling. You know, the feelings between parents and children are so strange. There's so many elements that are involved. I don't know if it was I don't know if I was very close to him, you know, emotionally and mentally and artistically certainly not, because he was in a totally different line. So I don't know how to describe this. My mother, who was very resentful of his absences, was instrumental in sort of in instigating in me a little bit kind of a distant feeling from my father. So, oh, he's never with us, he's always somewhere else, and he doesn't care about us. So I was a bit wary of that. And that contributed to sort of distancing myself from my father a little bit. And then also my mother gave me so much attention, unbelievably, because I was gifted and talented and was successful on the piano, and she was terribly proud of me. So my father never being there, my mother gave me all her love and attention, and my father, when he would come back, would resent that too. So, you know, each family has its own problems, and we had that one. And I kind of felt I'm a serious musician. My father is just sort of light music. I felt quite naturally, I felt on a little bit higher level. And he resented it too, and I was sorry about it. Why one should one resent that? It's really a different situation. And once or twice he came to my concert and said, I don't understand what it's all for. Which was very funny, because I remember I played 3 Prokofiev sonatas, 6, 7, 8. He came and said, what's it all for? I don't understand it. No. So that was difficult. But all the same, I was loyal to him, of course, and I had to take care of him in his later years, because in Russia, the last the years since Gorbachev's transformation of the country were extremely difficult for everybody, my father included. Had no money, no funds, nothing. So I had to bring him money all the time to support him. And I got him to Switzerland once or twice. He visited us. So I think he appreciated that somebody could help him. And he said, I don't know what we would do without you now. So I think all the resentment was washed away by that time.
What kind of a man was he at the end of his life?
He was very upset that he couldn't play, because he had a stroke and his right hand didn't work very well. And he felt useless. It was difficult. Very difficult. Had he been a musician of our line, very serious stuff, I think it would be different, because then although he would lose the ability to make music, he could still be tremendously enriched by listening to music, and that wasn't.
He wasn't.
No, he didn't care.
He didn't change.
No, but that didn't mean much to him.
No.
See, very strange, I find. That I myself couldn't understand that, because if I can't play music, I would go to concerts, I would listen to music, because for me it means very much to me.
How did your mother react?
I told you my mother was felt always lonely, because he was always away, and she gave all her affection to me, because I started being successful and gifted and all that. So she felt that was her focus in her life. She was very attractive, she was very beautiful, and she sang very beautifully, and it was really a joy. I have a photo just after my birth. Fantastic looking, very beautiful.
How would you describe her beauty? What kind of a beauty?
She had very dark hair, very slim. She was a beautiful figure. The shape was absolutely beautiful, just classical shape. Beautiful legs, and she looked radiant. Very beautiful. Not my type, actually. My wife is my type. She's blonde and Scandinavian.
Tall?
Pardon?
Tall?
My wife
No,
is
yeah.
slightly taller than I am. But when I look at my mother's picture, I think, oh, she's so beautiful. She could be my type too. Although she's not, you know, she's just very nice looking. She was. I was very fond of her because she had a tremendous purity in her. Tremendous. And whatever, well, I got everything from my mother in the sense of upbringing, all the values and everything.
You didn't see her very often the moment you were out of the USSR.
No, I didn't see her for a long time after that. She was extremely upset when I left.
Yeah.
She was kind of half brainwashed by the Soviet system in the sense that if you are there, you should not leave your country. You know? And she couldn't accept it that I left. First she couldn't accept I married a foreigner, and then that I left. It was very difficult for her, very hard. And then something happened between us. We were acrimonious during those years in our correspondence, and then she didn't speak to me on the phone for a few years even after that. And then finally we decided she should come and visit us. It was very difficult to arrange because the Soviets wouldn't let them. With tremendous pressure and help of some governmental figures in Iceland, for instance, finally we got them to come. They came together. My mother visited me twice in the West. And she never accepted that I was in the West. Never accepted. So it was, these encounters were very difficult. They were not harmonious. She was always resentful that I'm in the West. Always tried to talk me out of it. You must come back and play or something. I said, not now. If I come back, I'll never be let out. Oh no, we'll arrange for something. I'll go to the Minister of Culture or something. Nobody listened to her, of course. Finally, I came only after she was gone. After Gorbachev made it possible to open the borders and not to persecute those people who left the country. So I came and played. She knew I was interested in the orchestra. She took me there all the time. I had friends I had one friend whose father played in the State Symphony Orchestra. It was the best orchestra in Moscow. And he took me to those concerts too. It was great.
What was great? The music, the atmosphere?
The sound of the orchestra.
What was
I just couldn't believe it. It was magic. First time I heard the symphony orchestra was in the Bolshoi Theater, in the pit. And the whole performance of the ballet it was, or maybe opera, I can't remember. And it didn't matter because I hardly looked at the stage. I looked at the pit and I was absorbing the sounds from the symphony orchestra. And I thought that was the most incredible source of sound that I ever heard. I never forget that.
Can you describe it?
No, I can't.
Not a whole, but a little bit. Try.
No, you can't. How can you describe a symphony orchestra? It's just the whole world, everything. I was floored, absolutely floored. I thought there's nothing more beautiful ever. So I asked my mother, please take me again to the theater. She took me again and again and again, and I watched the pit.
And again, the same sensation?
Even the same ballet. And then in the interval I would go down and look at the barrier into the pit. Some musicians would stay and practice, and I was watching them. So that's how it started, that I, in the end, conduct. You know, that's what happens. That's what happens in our lives. I didn't deliberately drove myself to become a conductor.
The sound from the pit.
That was sound from the
whole
pit
universe.
to start. Yes, the whole universe. Yeah. For me, it was everything. I belonged to it. I was part of it. I knew that. There's no way, no other way. But I never thought I would conduct. I thought it's great. I'm listening to this great music and it's fantastic. It never occurred to me I would conduct. Why? I enjoy it already like that. And then it happened. That's the fate. Fate.
Yeah.
Destiny. I'm lucky.
You're looking in the pit, hearing the sound of an orchestra.
Yes?
The sound of God, the sound of the universe, the sound of everything. Was it so complete?
It's impossible to describe. For me it was like, I could tell you, like if it was the first time I might have seen a blue sky or the sun, you know, a phenomenon. It was that type of impact. Or the first time I saw a girl and I thought, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I remember that girl.
Yeah?
It was this strong when I heard the symphony orchestra. I was only 8 when I first fell in love, so to speak. I mean, you can't fall in love when you're 8, but there's something like that, some kind of impulse. I remember the girl, she was gorgeous, but I had the same strength of impact when I heard the symphony orchestra. Just, you lose yourself.
You lose yourself.
Just, you're part of it. You're no longer yourself.
You're not longer alone. You're together with her or with the orchestra, with the sound.
Yeah. With the elements. Because love is elements. Because you just can't help it. There you are, bum. You are caught.
That's close to your definition of consolation. Not being alone anymore. Not feeling alone anymore.
No.
Being part of a greater
Of
entity.
course. Oh yes, absolutely. Love means, of course, participation, caring, sympathy, and of course, not leaving somebody alone. Of course. Loneliness is very sad, very difficult. Some people can be alone and good if they can, that's fine. Paul Beethoven was very lonely. Schubert, when he was dying, he was totally alone. Only his brother helped. Brother brought him food and called upon him and spent little time with him. He was absolutely alone. All the rest of the family didn't care. Do you understand that? Just beyond me. Yeah, did you see the letters to his brother? Say, oh dear brother, you're so kind to me and thank you so much for coming and everything. He was so gentle. I was so grateful for it. It's very sad. There we are. If he had more love from others, be a little bit happier. Maybe would have written a couple of more last songs a little happier than Schwanengesang. Well, I don't know the piece so well, I might make mistakes. Not bad, eh? It's one of the fugues from his 24 Preludes and Fugues, the C minor. Gloom, gloom and some hope, some little bit of consolation somewhere at the end. But in Russia there wasn't much consolation. Music was, to some point, to some extent, for many people. You know, where I see if I remember that Shostakovich in his 13th symphony. No, I won't remember. I wish I had the score. The very end of the symphony, suddenly, after all the cataclysms and drama and tragedy of the life in the Soviet Union, at the end there is a glimmer of hope. The quartets play. It's incredible. Like in the dark tunnel of the Soviet reality, one could still have a glimmer of hope, and that would give some of peace for the soul. If you want to call it consolation, you can do that. But we always felt it, you know, we, the audience in Russia, listening to his symphonies, that were so descriptive in a way, in the musical way, of what we all had gone through and what we were facing in 40s, 50s, 60s, the whole Soviet system, whole Soviet decades. And then at the end of the 8th symphony, for instance, there's also some kind of, maybe there is some peace somewhere in the future. And in the 13th too, it's so touching. I recommend you find those few bars at the end of the 13th. Shostakovich was very special. And this piece too, it has some kind of strange at the end. It's incredible. After all this gloom, there's maybe something. Maybe the clouds will disappear and maybe there'll be a blue sky at some point. He never lived to see it, of course. I have a tremendous admiration for him, and I think he's a great, great man who managed to write honest music in the most dishonest times. And who, you know, I think Shostakovich's music is like a history book of the Soviet period in our history, absolutely. In a very special sense, of course, in the sense of what suffering there was, the depth of suffering, the depth of possible hopes too, and the torment that an individual went through in the Soviet system, and the nation too. It's all together. It's like a history book without words and without facts. It's just how it was. That's how it was. All in the music.
We started with Schumann, Rachmaninoff, Beethoven.
Now we came to Shostakovich.
To the real man.
Well, you know the attitude.
If we talk about consolation, if we talk only about consolation,
so you can find it in a lot of stuff, I suppose. Shostakovich was regarded in the 40s, 50s as not a very monumental figure. Not yet. People look down on him. Bartók, a great musical personality. He looked down on Shostakovich. Maybe he was envious. Shostakovich's 7th Symphony was sort of successful in America. So, you remember that famous... Then there's one... So Bartók, in his concerto for orchestra, made fun of this ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, meaning it's such a trivia. Why does he have such a good success? He quoted Shostakovich in a very derogatory way. That's sad for a great man to be envious like this. Even he couldn't perceive that Shostakovich was much more than just a couple of tunes. But now he came into his own. Shostakovich is recognized as one of the greatest composers. And this piece shows too.
Many participants of Beauty and Consolation have the idea that you have to earn beauty and consolation by surmounting oceans of suffering. You know what I mean? So that in this Russian system of the USSR, the Soviet system, that real beauty and consolation could occur because the rest was so contradictory. Do you agree with him on that?
The rest was ugly.
Yeah.
Life was ugly. Life was full of lies and betrayals.
in the Soviet Union. You couldn't live an honest life. Or yes, you could. You'll end up in a camp. And then, you know, you don't know how long you'll survive. That's what those so-called dissidents did. They couldn't make a compromise with their conscience. And many of them ended very badly. Others, and you can't blame them, they tried to survive, to save their families, you know, their children, themselves, to save their vocation, and survived somehow. Some of them managed not to make too many compromises with their conscience. Some did, unfortunately, and became just stooges of the party. Very difficult to blame. You have to live through that to know whether you're capable or not to retain your sanity and to retain your conscience. Before you live there, you cannot, and you shouldn't blame people. We're only very simple beings. We have to survive somehow. That's programmed in us by nature. And some survive by different means, unfortunately. But, you know, we have to take off our hats for those who didn't make any compromises. And those are the people who contributed to final collapse of this awful system.
Yeah, your relationship with the KGB.
Not very serious.
No, but they tried to hire you
yes,
to gather information.
I was afraid. You see, they called me to a dark room and said, we're serving the party and our people. I'm sure you would like to help us. I was 21 or something. I can't remember. About that age. Yes, of course. You know. Well, sign that you will tell us. You know, about other people. Something. I said yes, yes. So I never told them anything. I wrote lots of papers saying, "Oh, well, this very nice person. There's nothing to tell. There's nothing to tell." So they fired me in the end. But you see, our attitude to this was that we have to pretend we cooperate with the authorities. And then it's because we are not very talented in certain cooperation, well, you fire us. But we try to cooperate, you see. That was our attitude. But those who really wanted to succeed with the authorities, they really spied and they really betrayed. And then they went up on the scale. But I and lots of my friends, we thought, well, we better say we're doing something, but we didn't do anything. That's the best way. They say, oh, he's an idiot, he can't give us anything out. It's the only way. So, I was fired by the KGB. I wasn't good material.
Do you remember when Stalin died?
Yes. Oh, sure. Of course I remember. and my teacher, Anaïda Sumbatian, I came that day or the next day to her for a lesson or something, and I said, because I saw so much drama and tragedy around me, all the people crying, you know, I said, Mrs. Sumbatian, what? Anaïda Stepanovna was the patronymic. I said, what will happen now? Look, it's such a drama and everything. She said, shh, it'll be much better now. But don't tell anybody. I got shocked. Nobody ever talked like this to me in Russia. People would be afraid to say a thing like this. She wasn't afraid. She told me, but just don't say it. I said, okay, I never say it. But now I can say it.
What did you feel, Stalin dying?
She knew he was a...
She knew, but you?
Despot. I didn't know. No. I didn't know.
The sad loss. Oh, the great Stalin is dying. What kind of feeling?
Because other people were crying in the street. All ordinary women were weeping with tears and everything. And the government made so much fuss about it, of course. And life stopped in Moscow, I remember. Life stopped. There was no transport, no nothing. And people were crying in the streets. And, you know, you're only 15 years old, you think, what is that? You know, you don't know much. Really, at least in the Soviet Union. Maybe in the West, when you're 15, you're already aware of many things, but not at that time in the Soviet Union. Teenager, like a child there still, because there's no access to any information. All you know is what is just around you, and there's nothing else. And I was totally brainwashed to the extent that I thought that if everyone is weeping, it means it is serious. It means something terrible happened. That's the message you get.
And then when I talked to my teacher and she said that, I started thinking. Then, it's not that simple, I thought. So it was one of the beginnings of being aware that there's something else than what you just see. That's our country, our miserable country, and great country at the same time. I can't play it all. It's another fugue.
Ja.
Absolute desolation, huh? Like nothing. Shostakovich too. That's what the life was like. You had no hope, and yet he managed some hope here and there. Wonderful. That's consoling, isn't it? The hope. And at the end of the 8th symphony, bassoon plays ta ta ta, and then bum, bum, bum. I never forget it. Also, some kind of peace and maybe hope too, but especially from the 13th symphony.
Ja.
Why you can use it for the program too? In any case, you can illustrate what I'm saying. Take 13th symphony, the very end. You can't go wrong. The very end. The quartet plays. You'll hear it. It sounds suddenly light. The only light in the whole symphony. I mean, a ray of light.
Ja.
And that is, after the drama of the symphony, a terrible tragedy of all the peoples in the Soviet Union. Suddenly there is that. You don't believe it because you don't expect the symphony end like this. And it does end like this. You think, something, maybe at some point. Wonderful.
You're talking with so much tenderness about Shostakovich.
Oh, he was a special man. He suffered like, I don't know, he suffered like crazy, absolutely. He was vilified by the party all the time. He had to join the Communist Party, can you imagine, in order to protect himself. And even then it didn't help so much, because he wrote his 13th symphony and they almost didn't perform it, they almost cancelled it. Yeah. But in the end it was played and then it was put aside and almost never played. But he was a member of the Communist Party by that time and it was difficult to cancel it out altogether. Even for the party people who could do anything, they felt sort of, well, he's a communist. So even in that country there was some grey area with some things you could do and some things you couldn't do. But he has a terribly hard life, suffering all the time from the authorities. My teacher, Anaida Sumbatyan, she knew him a little bit. They lived in the same block of flats. And once during, no, after this terrible denunciation of his music, Prokofiev's music, Khachaturian, somebody else, he saw him in the street, just near the apartment. And he said, Anaida, do you have water today? She said, yes. Why? Because my water doesn't work. But I think I know why. They disconnected it probably. And actually they didn't disconnect water, this plumbing was wrong or something. But he thought, of course, they would do that to me too. They do anything to me. At some point he was sitting on his apartment threshold with a sack of clothes and toothpaste, thinking they'll arrest him any night. He was expecting, they never arrested him. But he expected it. What a life, huh? You know, when people are asked, what is happiness in your life? You know what the Russian said? The Russian, happiness in my life is when at 3 o'clock in the morning, somebody knocks on my door and says, are you Sidorov? I said, no, Sidorov is 1 floor higher, you made a mistake. Because they came to arrest somebody. That's happiness in our life. Sorry, I'm deviating from the subject.
Are there moments that music in itself is not consoling enough? Difficult circumstances in your life? Or is music always consoling?
No, I don't think music can always be consoling.
Always?
No, I don't. No. Not to me, unfortunately. Can give a superficial consolation, but not a substantial one, not to me. Maybe because I'm a professional in music.
Oh, this answer is surprising me. I expected you to answer, okay, no. In most of the cases when my life is in jeopardy, music consoles.
Maybe on some occasion, but you know, if you lose somebody close to you, I don't think there's any consolation is possible.
You're not going to the piano and play Mozart?
Oh, you can play that, but it
But it's
won't
not
help.
consoling.
It will help for a few seconds that you play, and the loss is there. I think what is the word? Unfortunately, I think it's a legend that it can really console substantially, for a few moments only.
I'm surprised.
But it helps a bit.
It helps a bit.
It helps a bit in the sense that there is a vocation, and by doing this I can help others. If not myself, but at least others. By helping others, you help yourself too, in a way. But not totally. A little bit. Which is still worth doing.
A little bit is enough.
Yeah.
Don't expect too much from life.
No. Try to contribute something. And if something is given back to you, you should be grateful for it and feel that you're lucky. Oh.
Thank you so much, Maestro.
Pleasure. Very tiring, eh? Trying to be a philosopher, huh?
Oh, well. You better play the piano.
That's even more difficult.
You just play one. What were you doing? The fugue.
Or you can end on it.
Yeah.
Just the last few, if I play it well. That one note doesn't play terribly well, but it's beautiful ending. You could end my contribution on this. It's very beautiful. Actually, that is quite some hope and peace at the end of one of Shostakovich's pieces. You could use that, but if you get one from the 13th Symphony, wonderful. But this is in the same line. Beautiful stuff.
Yeah. But finally, this beauty is not consoling in the difficulties of circumstances.
It can console lots of people.
But not you, and that's surprising.
A little bit too, a little bit.
But finally, music doesn't help.
In a detached way,
Yeah.
I think it can help. It depends on the individual.
Yeah, but in your case,
In my case, a little bit it can help too.
yeah, you're the embodiment of music. And you are saying that finally, beauty and consolation, the beauty is in the music, consolation
For some people, yes. For me,
not for the maestro.
For me, maybe in certain circumstances not. Sometimes maybe, but very often not.
Yeah.
I know what it has in it, of course, and I respond to it, and that is playing, and life around me continues as it was. It helps, but it doesn't help totally. You know what Sibelius said when he composed it? He said, you know, one day I came out of my little house in the morning, it was summer, and I saw cranes flying returning from the south. And I came and I composed it. That's beautiful.